Shall I make my microphone dad joke? Here's the Romanian microphone, because I've got to check one too.
I reckon we've got a few dad jokes today.
Yes? Break them out.
Yeah. Do you know, hands up, who's a programmer here, a developer? No? No. Why do Python developers wear glasses? Because they can't see sharp. Why did a SQL query walk into a bar and walk up to two tables and said, "Can I join?" See, if you're not a developer, you wouldn't get that one.
All right, this is not a comedy act, but I guess it is.
It should be. We've been doing it for long enough.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Morning Startup. To be frank, I would have to change my name because my name is Scott. How's that?
Cha-ching.
We are Morning Startup, along with the lovely Erin, who is here, not presenting today because she's recovering from a chesty thing that makes you sound like a tobacco-infused sex worker. So,
It's my joke.
How do you know what that sounds like?
Yeah, Scott, how do you know what that sounds like?
Wow. You get into it.
That's what she said.
Well, this is going well. All right.
Yeah. Uber, yeah.
We also have Nina. She's
We're all pop in. She's on her way to Spain today, but she will be making an appearance later on this morning. So
fantastic.
she'll be in a bit later.
And you are
I'm
this
Dave.
guy.
I'm that guy there.
Yep. And we're all startup founders, and we've been running Morning Startup every fortnight, rain, hail or shine, for the past 14 years.
14 years. One of Australia's now largest tech entrepreneurial groups. Nearly over 7,500 members now.
Yeah,
There's
that's
some
awesome.
pretty famous people in that list as well. But yeah, no, we come and do it for the love, to share experiences and also to share some of the things that we have made mistakes in, so hopefully you don't. We record this stuff as well, so you can go and view it, but we've got a great slide for that. So hit the next slide, Mr. Glue.
All right, we'll move along. Shameless plugs and announcements. We like to see who's in the audience, why are you here, what are you doing, what are you working on, is there a cool event coming up, anything that's awesome for the startup ecosystem.
We've got a hand up down here. So remember your name, what you're working on, and also, more importantly, have an ask.
My name is Carla. I'm working on something called Fuck Up Nights. Yeah,
Let's have a
if
tour.
anyone knows about them, they're actually all around the world. Yeah, speaking events, basically looking for 3 speakers to talk about their fuck-ups. We want to bring, failure as, not a shameful thing as a lot of founders probably hear. You kind of go through it. So, looking for 3 speakers to talk about their failures, but also looking for some sponsors for the event. We want to keep the cost low for participants, so if anyone's interested in being either sponsor or speaker, let me know. I do have to leave it a little bit early, so if I don't get to chat to you, then just look up Fuck Up Nights Perth, and let's chat.
When is the event going to happen?
The first event will be in January.
January, okay.
So just starting the process of organizing everything.
It's good to see it's back on. Nice.
It is, yeah.
Good job.
That is an incredible event. I remember there was a few of them a few years ago, actually. But let's
Yeah.
just go over here.
We've got... Okay.
Morning, everybody. I'm Mark from Xperia Growth. Xperia was created to help founders like yourselves troubleshoot business problems within your startup. We're actually putting together a new product for what we refer to as zero-day founders. And these are people who have an idea but don't really know what they need to do in the first 12 months to actually get the idea off the ground. And we're looking for 2 or 3 people to help us troubleshoot that and to get some feedback as to whether or not it's going to work. Essentially, we're going to provide you with the commercial and business confidence to be able to take your idea forward over that 12-month period. So if you're interested in that, come and find me. Thanks.
Before we
Awesome.
go to Caroline, has anyone else got a shameless plug that they want to raise? No?
shameless plugs?
Rick down the bottom there. You come here often enough, we all know you by first name terms.
Hi, I'm Rick, Regional Manager with Oz Industry. We're the face of the federal government programs for companies to start up and scale up. We've got a website, business.gov.au, and a contact centre. There's 4 of us in WA. If you're looking for guidance, come and see me.
Fantastic.
Any last
Anyone
ones
else?
before we go to
Any
Carol?
cool things coming up?
Let's go to Carol.
We've got a slide for this one. That's how professional we are.
Thank you.
All right, take it away.
So I'm Caroline Coleman. I'm Regional Hubs Coordinator for Block Square, which does real estate tokenisation. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how you can learn about tokenising intellectual property with Story Community Down Under, which is sharing on the upcoming Surreal World Assets Buildathon, which is solving real-world problems with real-world assets. It's held by the Encode Club in London, and you can learn how to participate in the Surreal World Assets Buildathon by coming to an information session at the end of this month. The main challenge is the theme of the Buildathon is exploring the future of IP in an increasingly AI-driven world. Some of the tracks that you can get involved in is generative video, creative front end, OSS dev tooling, IP detection and enforcement, IPFI, data and hardware DPIN. It's organised by the Story Community Down Under with support from the Story Grant Program with co-host PIP Labs. So let me know if you're interested. This is an upside-down orange house that's in Coburn at the playground behind the shopping centre. And when I saw it, I was like, that's surreal. Like, that's a really good picture to kind of tell the story about. And I actually tokenised the intellectual property of that picture. So if anyone wants to use that picture, I've set up the commercial rights and my own license contract. So yeah, I'll talk more about it at the next event. Thank you, everyone.
So just quickly, how does someone find out about the event? Just Google it? How do they get to that?
Yeah, when's the
Okay, so
information
I don't actually know. It's either going to be the 20th or the 21st. So I did actually have an event on the 3rd, this Monday, but I don't think I got the word out enough for people to come. So I have to do another event because I did get a grant. So I'm trying to figure out when do people want to come to this event. It can be the 20th or the 21st because I might have one event specifically for this, or I might do, because I actually host the Real World Asset Regional Hub events every month. So I'm not sure yet.
So maybe get us a QR code and we'll slap it on the next one.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's a good idea just to connect with you, and if you're interested in this space, just come and say hi. Yeah?
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Well done. Woo. And thank you to everyone that did the shameless plug, got the word out. I know it's hard on an early Wednesday morning. Guess what? It's the first Wednesday of the month today. That means Founder Sundowner is on tonight. Who's coming? All right. Who else is coming? Come on, let's go. I'll be there. Dave probably won't. You never come, sucker. But anyway, we've got pizza, free pizza. It is buy your own drinks, unfortunately, at Perth price drink level. So, but yeah, fun times, founders. Good to see you there. Is this still going? It's in my slide deck.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It is. It's closed.
It's
is it?
closed?
I'm
Okay.
going to sneak in if you ask nicely. Go talk to Ben.
Okay. All right, yep.
I'm supposed to be resting my voice. It's going well, isn't it? So yes, applications for Curtin Accelerate have officially closed, but I hear on the down low, if you have a really cool idea, you have a connection to the Curtin community, have a quiet chat to Ben Sandu at Curtin. If you need his contact details, hit me up, or I can pop it in the Slack group.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, Curtin Accelerator, move on. We've got West Tech Fest. Who's going to West Tech Fest? Look at all those hands. Good, good. Tickets are still available. Get on it. We are also going to do an event on...
Satellite group.
Yeah, a satellite event for West Tech Fest. We were thinking the current idea was a fuck-up morning. So it's going to be... We could talk. See if... Because we're still looking for founders that might want to do a presentation on their learnings. But, yeah, still TBD. All right. Who doesn't love watching a good live stream? I'm just going to...
There's a theme here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a theme. Okay. Have they paid the invoice yet?
I haven't got the latest from Jürgen, so I'm going to go to this slide and
Yes.
just thank perthvideo.com.au.
But before that, just before we go back to slide.
All right.
Like
I was going to go back.
as much as we do, there are some amazing things done by the West Australian government. There is the Innovators of the Year, which happened like in the last week. Congratulations to everybody that did that. And all of these programs along here, whilst they are still trying to find the money and the invoice to pay for the live stream, which we'll get to in a bit, we just want to thank them because they do. There is definitely an uplift in what's happened here locally, and we are seeing some great uplifts from it, and they are definitely more supportive than any other government that's previously been. So just do kudos to them for the work, and I know sometimes it can be hard in government, as Charlie will know.
Yep. And there's been a lot of staff changes and things going on. That's why we've still got an old slide that says Jitsi and not Deed and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's all coming. But they historically have supplied the live stream funding for perthvideo.com.au, but they've been doing that off their own backs since May. So thank you very much to Perth Video. If you need live streaming for your wedding, your bar mitzvah, whatever it might be.
I just want to say as well, if you really want to go and look at some content, go to that URL there, because we've recorded every single session for at least the last, 3 years, it feels like?
Yeah.
It's got to be in and around that. And there is so many great speakers on there. So you'll find lots of things from product development through to how to raise money by Derek Gerard. There's lots and lots of stuff on there.
Absolutely. Check out last events. All right, we've got to roll through this. Ammo marketing, there's Jack. How you going? They do marketing. They're really, really good at it. They can grow your business like no one else in WA. So get around Ammo.
And check out the Weird Growth Podcast.
Weird Growth Podcast. Beach
Glenn's an apology, shame on you, Glenn, but we're missing you already. If you are looking to recruit or you are looking to find a new job, check out Glenn and the team from Beecham, specialists in this area, and they've been massive supporters since I can remember for the last decade plus.
Absolutely. Purpose Ventures, who needs funding for their startup, who's a venture scalable company that's going to be $1 billion business.
Is there one person here that wants money? Come on. Gee whiz. So if you haven't, check out Purpose. They're one of WA's VC funds here. They're making investments. They've obviously got to deploy that capital pretty quickly over the next year or so. But if you are scalable and you've got a good bit of traction, and go and speak to Derek and Kylie and the team at Purpose, and check out purpose.ventures.
Absolutely.
Just to be clear, thank you to Purpose because they are paying for the coffee from down the road. So if you've had a coffee from Joey's, thank you to Derek and the team.
They've already invested in your startup, at least $5 or $4.50 or whatever it is.
Yes.
So Everest Engineering, we've got Tom in the room. Hey Tom, how you doing? Who needs developers or an app to be built or something techie done or your idea validated and all this stuff? Get around Everest Engineering, they can help you with that stuff. They've got a whole army of developers. It's all managed here in Australia, and they're really, really good at it. Thank you, Everest, and you are sponsoring the food. Thanks for feeding us today. Woo. Okay.
Very quickly, we couldn't do this without Space Cube. They give us the space for free. Start WA. How did the meeting go last night? Sorry I couldn't be there. Was it good?
We're all out of state.
+8. Greatest accelerator in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere, I'd argue as well. Lots of great, if you're looking to get fast track your business, then check out +8. And last but not least, Startup News. I'll say it again, said it before. More news, please.
More news from Startup News. Okay, scan this QR code. If you have a startup in a certain vertical and you want to know the best organisations to connect with in WA, this is run by the fine folks at Mesh Points. There's a little co-pilot chat agent there that will help you find the right direction in WA and connect you with all of these fantastic programs and resources if you don't know about them already. So yeah, that's a cool resource. Get in touch with us. This QR code here is a special one. It will take you to the invite link, which we worked out was still working this morning. So that's still good. I don't know if that one takes you to the invite link. But get on the Slack group and you can have a chat with other founders in between morning startup events if you want to keep the conversation going. See you in there. This is coming up next week. It's organised by Nina, so I don't know too much about it. But we've got Tim White and Tim McPherson, who run a cool company helping startups with their finances. So, yeah, a fractional finance smarts for startups, if you need some guidance in the finance space. Sorry, I don't have a better plug for that, but yeah, that's going to be fun.
And that's the formalities out of the way.
The formalities out of the way. Great. All right, but you're not here to listen to us crap on and tell dad jokes. We've got a fantastic presenter here, all the way from sunny Melbourne, coming to Perth. So, Scotty, you've got a really cool podcast that I've been listening to for a bit, and you always introduce yourself as a very polite dream killer. I think that's a good apt description. You work with a lot of startups to help, tell them no, this isn't a good idea, or at least try and help them find their path. And there's things that you've learned. You've got unique perspectives on all of this, so I'm really excited to hear more about it. So please make him welcome Scotty Allen.
We'll leave the mic up here.
It's a good thing I don't have an anaphylactic allergy to dad jokes, because I think I'd be laid out.
Do you want that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, cool.
You'll need to give me a little wave when it's nearly time, because I'm...
All right.
Okay, no worries. Really quick intro and our own shameless plug. I'm Scotty Allen. I'm the founder, CEO of Product Bus. I have my colleague, Joan Norton, who is our program director, here with me today, and she would love to chat to you afterwards. I have a clicker disability, so we'll see how this goes. Hey! So very quickly, I always like to confess up front, I am a recovering American. I have my 30-year sobriety chip. My wife's Australian, and the conditions of the marriage that we live here, which in the end has worked out pretty good for me. My background is originally education. I started as a primary teacher, and I went into teaching thinking I was going to be a drama and music specialist, and I arrived at my very first school and was told, oh, by the way, you're the computer coordinator. So you have to imagine how long ago it was that the title was computer coordinator. And basically it was the start of digital transformation in schools, and I had the opportunity to really learn the transformative power of technology, not in the hardware or the software itself, but in the way that it can elevate learning experiences, that it can make things accessible to people that would not have had opportunities like that before. And that eventually led me into some leadership roles in schools, and then into a edtech startup, originally as a subject matter expert, and over time that turned into a product role. And from there, I've been a product manager and leader in a number of startups and scale-ups and a couple of unicorns before they were unicorns. And right at the start of COVID, I left to start my own project, and I got involved with Day Zero founders for the first time and realized how much early stage founders need the smarts that product managers and leaders bring to the scale-up process. There are a lot of skills that are not about subject matter knowledge. They are about understanding the market. They are about understanding what people will and won't pay for and how to work that out. And those are skills that can be learned by anybody. And unfortunately, we have a startup ecosystem that relies a lot on people continuing to work on ideas that aren't great or that don't have that innate commercial potential, and we don't have good structures set up to help people discover that. And the reality is that the successful startups that we're all modeling ourselves on kill ideas all the time and do that fast and ruthlessly. And that's not what we see and what we get modeled to. And so that's where that polite dream killer came from. It was, how do we teach people product thinking? Because product thinking is all about using our smarts to try and work out who wants this, who will pay for this, is this a scalable commercial model? And a lot of that can be done before you build a thing. So that's where Product Bus started. Just to manage your expectations, the bus is a metaphor. We don't have a real bus. If you're disappointed, you can leave now, that's fine. Product Bus started just as me consulting to early stage, trying to work out how to support them. Super challenging because they have no money. And then when you are providing advice that says, this is a terrible idea, stop doing this, you're going to lose your house, that is really valuable advice. It's a terrible upsell. And so working out how to turn that into some programmatic work is the work that we've done over the last kind of 4 years. Joan has come from higher ed, startup space, and lots of other things as well. Please talk to her about her vast experience, but has come to work with us on how we scale into those programs. We run our own commercial client work, and then we also support and co-design accelerators at unis like Swinburne, University of Queensland. We are close partners with Everest, so it's Tom's fault that we're here. You can blame him at the end if you didn't like this. And we are really loving that chance to kind of share that understanding and help redesign some of the accelerators and programs that are out there so that they're not just a cheerleading experience where everyone demos at the end and then most things just kind of fizzle and fail, but actually speeding that up for people so that they learn how to do that failing fast and keep going. We have 2 key services that we provide to our individual clients. The entry-level piece is called the pit stop, or as we call it, check it before you wreck it. And that is something that is basically a design thinking and learning experience that can be used at any stage, finding an idea, validating an idea, looking at funding models, looking at customer profiles, and it's our kind of entry-level discovery project. We also then run a more involved project called the pre-MVP. We do not do development. It's really important for me that Product Bus stays away from that space because a lot of time we need to tell people don't do it or not yet. At the moment you have a vested interest in upselling development, it's really hard to give that advice. So we work with some fantastic development partners like Everest, where we might work with someone on a pre-MVP, which is all the market research validation, commercial model pieces, and then pass them on to a developer, a great agency like Everest that really shares our values, or it might work the other way as well, where they have someone who has got something that's interesting, they've got budget to build, but they're really not quite ready and they need to do this work first. So pre-MVP is that piece that's all on our website. Okay, enough about that. I want you to imagine that you wake up tomorrow and you look like this. Now, you can decide whether that's just spots or whether you are a unicorn. All uses of unicorns in this presentation are ironic. Just want to be clear, we're not promoting it. I just call this Friday morning, but for some people this would be an alarming thing. So obviously you go to the doctor and say, "Doctor, what is wrong with me?" And imagine that your doctor treats it like this. Okay. So you would probably have some questions. The doctor says, "Oh, no worries," gets out the box of Band-Aids and starts whacking them on. Do we need to do a blood test? Is there I feel like there's probably something more wrong. I'm glowing, blah, blah. But this is treating the symptoms without understanding the cause. You wouldn't be happy with that if that's the approach that your doctor took. But as founders, we do this all the time. We see a symptom and we start designing a solution for it without understanding the cause. And eventually, we fall in love with our solution instead of falling in love with really understanding and solving that problem. And it's very tricky because building a product is like falling in love. And the reality of all startup ideas, it's easy for us to start with a blank page and tell people where they should begin. But the reality of all startup ideas is that you start in the middle. You usually start with an idea that is a solution. What if I made this for these people to fix this? And it's very easy to get focused on that thing that you're building, and you can have conversations with people where you describe the thing that you're doing, they say it's great, they're probably your friends, your family, and you take that as validation when the only thing that they're really saying is, "I love you." And that does not, unfortunately, put money in the bank, and we can get a lot of that false validation by just talking about it. People also, in their own mind, have their own idea of what you're solving, what it's going to look like, etc. And we can go a long way without actually having are you willing to pay for this conversation with anyone in our build process? And so we think we've nailed it. I'm going to go build that thing. I'm going to sell it to everybody. And so we take that positive feedback, we start building, we go in our little basement and code or, whatever it is that you do. And then when we present it, people are not, they might be like, oh, that's great, well done. But they're not buying. And one of the common scenarios where we start with the client is either an idea and we want to de-risk this process, or oops, we've built something without asking anyone if they would actually pay for it, and now we need to kind of go back to the drawing board and try and work out if there actually is a repeatable, scalable model here. Oh no, what is wrong? I didn't do it. Did I? Oh.
I think you might have turned it off.
I didn't do it.
Turned it off.
Hello?
It will come back.
Is it okay? Oh, hey, hi everybody. Woohoo! Okay. And so there's a few things fundamentally that we get wrong about problems. Most people now understand, in theory, I need to be solving a problem. But our understanding of how to identify problems we're solving is still often really misunderstood. And the first piece is that often we jump straight into solution mode. Oh, so you've got this problem, I could build this and that's going to solve it. And amazingly, people will start building in detail that based on a theory of what those people might want without ever talking to any of those people. Or our validation is more like, I'm going to build this for chemists. How many chemists have you spoken to? Well, my uncle is a chemist, and you can write the bad ending there. So we often jump into that solution mode instead of zooming out a bit and spending some time looking at the problem space and understanding that that initial problem that we saw is likely a symptom of a bigger problem. And until we understand the bigger problem, we are unlikely to be on a pathway to commercializing a solution to that initial problem that we saw. The other thing, because we're all self-involved, is that we assume our experience is universal. So one big pathway to this kind of problem are subject matter expert founders, which is a great place to come from. But often we assume that I'm a lawyer and I see that we have this problem in our firm, and so I'm going to get this built or I'm going to build it, and every lawyer is going to want it. And the reality of experience is that even though people might be doing the same job, like I come from education, schools all spend a lot of time talking about how incredibly unique they are, when the reality is they all have the same job, make sure the kids don't die. But even though they do have that, every school is super different. And so if I build something specifically for one school with their language, their acronyms, their structure, it doesn't automatically translate to any other site. People have their own language, their own way of doing things, their own processes. And so if we make an assumption that either, I'm a developer, my client who is doing home health care wants this product, we're going to be able to sell this to every home health care agency, never works because we don't have that context. We haven't spoken to them beforehand. Really, we've just built a custom piece of software for that particular client. The other thing is mistaking interest for pain. People, when I talk to them, that say, we have a lot of people interested, we have a lot of investors interested, but the number of red flags that spring up there are uncountable. Because when you get down to, okay, when you say interested, what do you mean? People are not like, oh yeah, we showed them and they really liked it. Or we spoke to an investor and they said, that sounds great. Come back when you've got traction. We've got to get to a point where we understand that the only data that you can infer from those types of interactions is that people were polite to you. Unless it actually ends in a meeting, in a sale, in a commitment, it's not interest, it's not pain, it is nicety. And particularly when in these sort of settings where, we're unlikely, if you talk to me and I think that your idea sounds like you're going to ruin your life, I will tell you. But most people in this space are going to go, oh, wow, that sounds really interesting, even if inside they're like, what? I don't get it. The other piece, too, is we really underestimate the power and force of the status quo. Our biggest competitor, as it were, is not another bright, shiny new solution. It is things staying the way that they are. Lots of people will tell you, particularly like I come from B2B SaaS, and systems are things that in the workplace everybody hates. It's like our common enemy that we can all rage about without fighting with each other, right? And so you think, I'm going to build this new thing and it's going to replace that and it's going to make it so much better. And everybody will give you great feedback about how much they hate the incumbent system, right? But that does not mean that your one better feature is going to move them to replace the system for yours. And also, if they do, they're going to hate your product pretty soon as well, right? And so, those things were like, oh yeah, everybody, and sometimes I hear some things that really do sound crazy. Like, yeah, we're making a better Excel, because there's things that, that people hate about Excel, and these two features go better, so we're just making a new one. Those things where it's like, that is not going to work. Also, if you say people hate Excel too loud, there are people out there that are probably going to hunt you down and kill you, because they are big fans. But we go too big. And then the biggest problem is that we do not focus enough on a minimum viable problem. I'm not talking about product, I'm talking about a minimum viable problem. Often by the time we kind of get stuck into, we're going to do this and we're going to solve this, we're like trying to boil the ocean instead of solving one really simple problem to start with. And the cost of that is that obviously we waste our development resources, we eat up our runway. There's a point that I have found when people come to us with something that isn't working, where they've put too much in financially and emotionally to let it go. And my analogy, it's like they rock up with a dead plant, and it is dead, like smells dead. And then you spend the whole engagement saying, like, this plant is dead. And they're like, no, we're going to pivot. We just need some investment, etc. And you really want to go, just give me the plant. Okay? And, let's try again. But often that's really hard, and that is that sunk cost fallacy, whether it is, I've run out of money, this has to work, I don't have any more emotional energy to try and make this work. Once we get too far in building our solution, that's what happens. It takes a much longer time to find that product market fit, which I'll talk a bit about in a moment. I don't really like that term. We spend more time pivoting in big ways, which eats our runway, eats our reputation, and if we've spent, because often, particularly people that come out of an industry, they're like, oh, I'm going to sell this to all my connections, and so you go and talk to everybody that you know about this thing that absolutely doesn't make sense yet. And then you kind of, now we're doing this, and then by the time it's the boy that cried wolf, right? They're like, oh yeah, whatever. You're not going to get another opportunity. So if we try and fall in love with solving the problem instead of our solution, then it means really spending time to understand the problem space, taking a step back and working out who the players are, where the real causes of these problems are, and who is going to economically fund our solution in a way that is scalable and repeatable. So one big client, sometimes people come out of big corporate and they're like, oh, we're going to sell this to PwC. And it's like, that is the end of all of this. This will never go further. Either you'll never get the deal, or you'll spend a lot of time doing custom work with them that doesn't apply to anywhere else. Whereas if we take a step back, we stay agnostic to the solution right now, really try and understand the people and their pain points, that's where we are on track. And if you know your Y Combinator, we're looking for that problem that is worth solving. And by that we mean it's a problem that happens a lot in the same way to the same type of people. If you find a problem, but it's the people that are adopting it are completely different professions, completely different personas, then we haven't found that kind of scalable, repeatable problem yet because they're inherently using it in different ways. It is painful, it has a big impact. It's not a nice to have, it is that kind of painkiller versus vitamin. And this is the bit that I think we often don't kind of spend time focusing on, there's a willingness to pay to solve it. We often stop at, everybody hates the system. Everybody loves this. It's green, they love it. And not, okay, what is it going to take for you to actually buy this? And are there 10, 50, 100 more like you that are going to buy this so that it is scalable. And my own definition of scale is that we are selling the same thing to the same type of people with the same messaging and the same process, and we're doing that faster than we can deliver. So if we're still doing custom proposals and custom configurations to sell, we're not at scale. I've been the product leader in big scale-ups where we have a roadmap and we say, this is what we're doing, these features will be live in 2025, these not till 2027, and then you look across over and the sales team is carrying some guy around on their shoulders because he just sold something that you don't even plan to build. Or he just sold the thing that you said is not till 2027 to a big client, which means now you have to do it. That's great, you make the money, but it just completely throws things out. People do that pre-revenue where we will change course completely because one person says, I would buy this if it also did my washing, and then we're like, right, we gotta get a washing machine in here, and then we really are in a washing machine, right? So that willingness to pay to solve this and pay for the solution that you're proposing is the thing that takes the most time to work out. We're looking for the hair on fire problem. One thing that is always a red flag when I hear people say, we just have to educate the market. We just have to help people understand why our solution is so important. If your hair is on fire, you do not need to be educated that it is a priority to put it out. Some of us don't have much to spare, right? I have a great story about someone who didn't know their hair was on fire. Remind me, I'll tell you later. But if someone knows their hair is on fire, they have no other priorities. And again, this is the Y Combinator analogy. If they say, I need something to put this fire out, and you say, I only have a brick, they're like, great, sell it to me, right? Because it is, there's no other priority. We're trying to find that hair on fire problem to our prospective customer. It's often, particularly if we're B2B, it's often not the hair on fire problem of the user or the worker bee. So I hear people a lot that say, things like, people on the floor are really stressed out, people are overworked, etc. And we've got a system that is going to make it better for them and they really love it. This may come as a complete shock to you, but the people that will sign the check for that product probably don't really care about those people, right? They're like, what do you mean? We'll just get new worker bees, right? Or they will buy that only if you find the hair on fire problem for them. And quite often it doesn't actually mean dramatically changing your product. It's like, we're solving this for this, but, and surprise, it usually comes down to money, but it's going to save you X, or it's going to help you to stay out of jail because it complies with blah, right? So those things that find that hair on fire problem for the buyer. And often we spend a lot of time talking to our users and not even identifying who the commercial buyer is or who's going to sign the check. So finding that takes time. And the only way to do it is by talking to people. So once we have that kind of idea of, okay, we're on the right path here, we've got the problem, we have to identify and challenge all of our assumptions. Assumption mapping is an incredibly important process in this because they're theories. Assumption doesn't mean it's not critical. It is, we think, we don't know. So we've got to lay out, okay, based on all of this, what do we think about the problem that we're solving, the solution that we're providing, and who is going to buy, and is this repeatable, and is it going to scale to a commercial model that actually meets our goals? And now, once we have those assumptions laid out, how are we going to challenge them? How are we going to test them? How are we going to find out quickly? And the answer is not by spending 6 months in stealth mode building your product in a basement, right? It is by going out and actually trying to validate or invalidate those assumptions by talking to human beings. So one of the things that we do when we do market research is, you might already have a product that you want to sell, and we look at who your buyer is, and we talk to them, and we do not talk to them about your product at all. We talk to them about them, everyone's favorite topic. Right? If you can get somebody telling you about what is hard about their job, again, and also give you those kind of insights into who would sign off on a solution like this, where the kind of funding comes from, that sort of thing, then your initial idea may not dramatically change, but the messaging and the way that you approach that in the discovery and sales process can change significantly in order to highlight the way that what you are doing is solving the pain points of those individuals that are going to sign the check. And the only way that you do that is by listening, not talking. Tell me about you, tell me about the things that are, make your job hard. What do you like about your job? What would you change? Do you have these kind of problems? How does that resonate with you? And then if it does, would a solution that solves some of that be something that's interesting to you? And if they say yes, we don't then say, aha, here is thought leader AI, you can do blah. We say, okay, tell us what you think that solution would be. And that's where the gold comes from. That's where then you sometimes find out, okay, so that thing that you just said, you're making an assumption that this partner is going to be able to do something that we weren't planning on it doing, or we don't know if it can do. We found that out before we built it, shown it to you, done all the work, and then discovered that this is a deal breaker. We're trying to understand the context, understand who the decision makers are. When I lay out a sales process with clients, it's a really clear structure. First is we take the meeting with whoever we can get, and in that meeting we work out who the decision maker is, or who the next level decision maker is, and our goal is to get a second meeting with that person there. We don't have another meeting with the guy that can't sign the check, because then we're just going into like, oh yeah, they really love it. They're super interested. We're like, great, can you pay for this? No, amazing. Bring a friend who can, right? But obviously you have to ask a little bit more subtly. But the more that we understand that, and particularly in an industry where we understand, okay, who are the behind the scenes people that pull the strings and write the checks, those are the personas that we might need to be targeting. And then we collect a lot of that feedback. We then, once we get an idea of, what we think this persona is going to buy this, then we don't go and build for 6 months without talking to people. Then we put, and particularly now with some of the great no-code, low-code tools are out there, we spend 15 minutes whacking up a landing page with that messaging to then put it in front of people and say, so would it be like this? Like, would you, would this meet your needs, etc.? And we fine-tune and change until we get multiple yeses, not just one, right? And again, we're focusing on our willingness to pay. The thing that I find about founders, and particularly if you're like me, I came in as a subject matter expert. The last thing that I identify myself as is a salesperson. And so it's like we'll talk about anything and not kind of get down to the real guts of money. The first time I worked with a real business development representative, and I went into a meeting, and within 20 minutes she was asking, so what sort of budget do you have for this? And when would you pay? And I was like, oh, that's so forward. But actually, those are really important questions, and people will answer them. You will usually get an honest answer that can tell you, oh, we're barking up the wrong tree here, or this is an opportunity that is not for now, it's for later. All those, that's what we're really trying to find. It's not they love it, right? If what you really want is love, get a puppy. Okay? Go to therapy. Don't build a startup. Don't build a product. Okay? Is whatever thing that is broken in you is not going to be fixed by doing this. Okay? My question to people often is, if your mother told you that she loved you unconditionally, would you still want to do this? Or would that heal the thing inside? Right? And if the answer is no, then don't do it. Get a puppy instead. So what are some signs that you are falling in love with the problem instead of the solution? One of the biggest signs is that you start developing tests that are small enough and quick enough that when you find out that you're wrong, it's a win, not a disaster. Because often we treat product launches, please not launch, like an assignment, right? Where it's like, I've got to get this done, it's due at midnight, it has to be perfect. Then you put it out in the world and no one comes, your grandmother doesn't even log in, right? And so, whereas if we test along the way, we do tests that are smaller, that don't require investment, because really a lot of it is talking to people and showing people. When you discover, we had something recently with something that we're working on where we realized like, oh, that's not going to sell it. Great, that's great. We know that now. We're not going to spend any more time on that. On to the next question. And when you're falling in love with solving the problem, when you become determined to find the solution and not clinging on to that dead plant that was your dream, right? Everybody can smell it. It becomes obvious really quickly. You've got to set it down and be prepared to pick up the next plant and watch it die as well, but faster. Right? And also you stop pitching. Okay? The one thing that I would like to challenge you is that if you are still early stage and you haven't really hit that revenue piece yet, when you listen to yourself, when you talk about what you're doing, and every time you mention your product name, just say watermelon instead, right? Because that's about how much sense it makes to whoever you're talking to. Until you can explain it so clearly that like, get it, stop saying thought leader AI. Start talking about the problem that you're solving. You're not validating anything by saying thought leader AI was conceived to do blah, 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 blah. Just say watermelon. It's going to make about as much sense. Start listening to people and their problems as well. So, your challenge. You need to become problem detectives. The unicorn Sherlock Holmes outfit is optional. We don't sell them either, so you have to kind of make your own. But I really want to challenge you. If you are building, if you're doing anything in this space, spend a bit of time working out the one or two key questions that really need to be answered for you to have confidence to keep going with what you're doing. What are the one or two things that you don't really know? Okay, it could be, I don't know who my buyer is. I don't know if this is the right way to sell this. The things that are most on fire should be your only area of focus. Often what happens is we end up spending a lot of time doing the stuff that feels comfortable and the stuff that we're used to. So, I have worked with people where it's like, oh, we should do some customer interviews. So we've got a meeting with the lawyer to talk about our shareholder scheme tomorrow. And I'm like, amazing. So maybe instead of talking about what percentages of zero everybody gets, instead you could go and work out if there actually is going to be more than zero, right? But often those things, they feel more important. People that are trying to sell you, like, hey, we're going to help you, you've got a startup idea, we're going to help you set up your business and understand GST and shareholder schemes and whatever, that there is a major assumption there, which is that you should be doing that you have a commercial model that should be doing that. And I would always run a mile from that. You want people that will, whether that's with a consultant or with a network, you need to give people, oh no. Can I just keep talking? What?
Click the switch. I think you keep clicking the switch.
They always blame the user, don't they? It's like...
Try again. It's working again.
Maybe it's your own tech, huh? Bring the guy all the way from Melbourne and then make it all his fault when it doesn't work. I totally forgot what I was saying now. So spend time focusing on that stuff that really matters. Often when we're working with people, we look at the percentage of time that they're spending on things versus, and how much that applies to what's actually on fire. And it's amazing how that thing over there often is getting no attention. It's like, I know I need to do that, but we have a meeting about changing the shade of yellow on our website with our designer, and so I need to get that done first. Right? And we all do it because it's comfortable. It's confronting when you're like, I don't know if this is a thing. It could all fly apart tomorrow. But until you face that and you are focused solely on answering that question, you're not actually doing startup, you're just playing pretend. Right? So find one assumption that you need to challenge, because we should be constantly looking for reasons to stop. Not looking for ways to validate, like, oh, well, I worked with somebody earlier this year where we kind of spent 3 months going like, this plant is so dead, it has already decomposed, it's dust. You have 40 interns, unpaid, working on this thing, and you're spending all of your time managing them, and you have no customers, or prospects of customers, you need to let this go. And we nearly got there, and this literally happened. They came back the next day and said, I was really thinking about it, and I met this person in a cafe, and I was telling them about what we're doing, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's so important. So I just have to keep going. And I was like, are you sure you don't want a puppy? Right? But like sometimes it's just that it's hard to let that stuff go. Challenge your assumptions, look for reasons to stop. Ask those questions. Why won't this work? Invite everybody in your team to put on the black hat and ask those challenging questions. If you can't answer them, do not keep going. Find a different question. You guys have been great. Thank you so much. Not you, blamer.
Yes, you got
Everyone
me.
else.
So really, we've got time for Q&A. I think I want to kick it off by... Sorry, I haven't switched it on myself. So I'm going to kick it off with the first question of the old famous saying by Henry Ford, which is, if he'd asked his customers what they wanted, they'd have said faster horses.
Yep.
So what would be your response to that?
Well, I think when we do surface level conversations, we hear pain points that are really like, complaints. They are things that we would change if we could. And if we don't delve into, okay, tell me what you mean, tell me what you're actually trying to do, how much would you pay for a faster horse, etc., to try and work that out. Often the amount of information that people use as the starting point for something is so tiny, and you've asked no follow-up questions. So it's that kind of thing of, you've got to really validate that. Is that really what you want, or do you want to get there faster than a fast horse can get you? In that case, we need a brand new solution.
Well, that's very similar to what Apple took with the iPhone, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Just as a kudos, that was probably one of the best presentations I've seen in the 14 years I've done here. So round of applause, first of all.
Oh, thanks. It's the unicorns, I know. They carry the whole thing.
Fantastic presentation, and as a strategic advisor, I talk to my clients about that all the time. And I've always found potential customers always open their doors if you're actually interested in what they're doing. Can you maybe share with some of the founders here what would be one or two really key killer questions when you've got that opportunity to talk to a customer? What are some key questions that really help?
Sure. I think spending a bit of time asking questions about the decision-making framework, and really, when you start talking to someone, work out how to place where they are in that process. Because, I can have I picked on you before, but, I can have a chat with you, and I can say, I just talked to this guy from Deloitte, and they love this, and we're going to sell this, and I didn't find out that you are the janitor, right? And so, those pieces are that, you're down the ranks. So that, to me, is like one of the most important questions. It's placing who you're talking to, and then understanding what their problems are and whether those are the problems that are actually going to be likely to trigger someone signing a check. The further the way they are, like I come from education, you would think that a solution that really improved the learning experience for students would be an instant purchase. Not. It's, hey, business manager, here's a way that you can increase enrollments or etc. So who are you talking to? That would be my main advice.
Thank you, Scotty. A question about something I didn't quite understand, the very last line of your last slide about the minimum viable test.
Oh, sorry.
Specifically, might it refer to the identification of possible showstoppers? Let's just say I've invented something to really improve memory. It works, I've tested it, but it requires ingesting mercury. That's a showstopper, right? At what point in the workflow you've proposed do we look for showstoppers, some that might be very hidden?
For sure. I think that's where that assumption mapping comes in. It's first of all, like, what are the basic premises that this is built on? How do we challenge those? Minimum viable test is not a minimal viable product. It's a little landing page. It's a one feature tool that puts something out there to start getting that real feedback. Because in the software space, it's really not about features. It's more likely like, oh, this is a language that we don't understand, or this is a process that we don't use, or we need a big showstopper often is integration, right? Where we did something recently with a health tech idea where the concept was loved by the patients and GPs that we spoke to, but because we didn't tell them what the solution was, we asked them, okay, you want to solve that problem? You tell us what the solution would look like, and everybody had an assumption that there was an integration that wasn't possible. And so we were able to go back to the client and say, people love this idea, except that they're assuming it's this, and that's a showstopper because that can't be done. So those things, you don't have to build anything to do it. Minimal viable test can be an interview. Martin's not convinced. Oh, that's still going. Okay.
Okay, I've got the mic here.
Hi.
Great presentation, very engaging, thank you. I was just wondering what kind of founders or startups you generally work with. I think you've referenced a lot of B2B. Do you do B2C as well? And how do founders engage you? What's kind of your pricing model?
Sure. So digital is our sweet spot, but in the pit stop and testing, we do work with physical products, robotics, B2C to a degree. Obviously, we're not subject matter experts, but sometimes people might engage us because they have an idea of a product and they want to outsource the research to work out whether they can do it or not. You know, sometimes it's like, someone's already done it. Sometimes the answer is like, oh, sorry, it's illegal, and you're an accountant, so you probably should have known it was money laundering or whatever. But okay, mainly digital. We do have a cohort program that's on our website that runs 3 times a year. That is about $800. That's more self-paced, but then our pit stop is around the kind of 2 to 3K mark, and the pre-MVP is 10 weeks, 10K.
Scotty, when you work with accelerators, what's the main things that you tend to change about them? Like, what do you think the biggest challenge?
So the main challenge with programs, and this is the space that Joan is working in with us, is that we've spoken to, and Joan's come from running programs, we've spoken to a lot of program managers about their metrics, what they get measured on, and 90% of it is participation. It's numbers. And so we have 10 people at the start. We need all 10 of them to be standing up on demo day. And even if we have to kind of put a lot of lipstick on that pig to make it work, we're going to do it. And then afterwards, we don't really care. And so the main thing that I try and restructure in accelerators is I want the first few weeks to be freaking intensive. And I don't expect everybody to make it past that. Because some people, after 4 weeks, we need to say, you need to go and do more work. This is not a thing. Here's the number of my therapist. And that's that kind of thing where we are incentivized. Our whole ecosystem is incentivized to help people polish turds, right? As opposed to really, and that's why partners like Everest that we work with, where they will not take people's money for something that they know they shouldn't be building. And I have worked with people, and the way that Product Bus was born is meeting people who had sold their house to build this thing that never should have been built. And so to me, it's got to be that really frank and fearless piece. If you run an accelerator and nobody pivots or quits during the process, you have not accelerated. You've just kind of put everybody in the washing machine, and often people come out of it and they're stumbling around I don't know what to do now. So that's it. That's easy to say, hard to do. But I ran a program earlier this year that was a private one with someone else, and we took 8 startups in, and we came to an agreement with I think 3 of them after 4 weeks to say you need to go do other things. And then at the end result was, of the 5 that stayed, there were 2 co-founder pairs, and they both split because they realized that their values were not aligned. One of the solo founders just yesterday shut down his thing to do a new thing, and then 2 were flying. those are real outcomes, but they're never going to make it on Startup Daily, right? So. Oh yeah, the other thing with programs too is it's like if you don't have kind of aftercare, in a sense of, okay, like we did this to you, because a lot of programs are not done for you. It's like I'm doing this to you, right? And then at the end, we're like, well, we need to find more numbers now so we don't care about you anymore. And one of the things that we've been working on is how we support people in programs with that pre, mid, post care. Because there are times where someone did the pre-accelerator and they're not going to get into the accelerator. And the solution to that is not another program. It's, time, consulting, that sort of thing.
Scotty, Charlie Gunningham here from Startup WA. This should be a central viewing for everybody. Fantastic presentation. Thank you for coming over. Just a quick question. How do you know as a startup if you're too early or you're wrong? Because often if you're early, it feels like you're wrong. But are you wrong or are you just too early?
Sure.
That can be a tough one.
Yes. Well, I think you have to assume you're wrong. And part of it is about making the questions that you're asking small enough that they lead to the next question, not wait to ask it until everything's on the line. And so working on understanding that I'm making an assumption, it's just a guess. I've got to check the guess. My analogy is a bit like, do you know that old game Battleship? So for the kids out there, imagine the world is black and white, and we don't have screens in front of us all the time. And you have your ships that you place on a grid that your opponent can't see. They're using the grid to call out like missiles, and it's either like hit or miss. The first time that you make a hit, you don't win the game. You could go another 12 rounds before you make another hit. And often what people do is they make one hit and they're like, woo, product market fit, baby. Right? And that ain't it. And so it is like assuming, okay, that is evidence, it's not confirmation. The only confirmation is money in your bank account. And not just one bit of money, but particularly if you are thinking about going for VC funding, then you need to understand that you have to have evidence of a repeatable, scalable sales model. That I've proven that I can sell this way to the same people for the same price, and that we can scale this. And so that just takes time and actually sell it. The other thing actually I should say about accelerators is what I really like to be doing in accelerators is by the end of it, some of us have sold something. That's almost too practical for some people that run those programs. But yeah, does that answer your question or not really?
Being early or wrong, and
You don't. So you don't know that. Oh, okay, sure. I think some piece of like knowing when to give up is you've got to have those honest conversations with yourself and your partner, if you are so fortunate, about what your risk appetite is, how much you're going to put into this, how much time you're going to take, what is your runway, what's your stop point. That's one of the things that I'm always asking early stage people is like, do you have a stop point? And if they say no, then I'm like, well, I really need to find one. So it might be, I'm going to do this for 3 months. Not trying to sell the same thing for 3 months, but I'm going to do this for 3 months and then, I'm going to get a job or that sort of thing. But I think you have to assume you're wrong. And every interaction is trying to prove or disprove something. The evidence is sales.
Just to put it a different way, I think Charlie's question, we've all seen it, is there's two guys in the tunnel. One's tunneling towards the amount of diamonds and one's walking the other way. So it's kind of like I think what you said was timing. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also just that ability to understand when you need to stop putting energy into an opportunity because it's not, you're just having circular conversations and it's tire kicking, it's not leading anywhere. Working out how to actually accelerate a sales process to a yes or a no. Often we don't want to hear no, and so we'll just be like, oh, I'll just check in with them, in a month. Or something like it's okay to chase no. And because then along that can become the feedback of why. So if you are only getting, oh, that sounds great, at things like this, and no one is saying, no, we wouldn't buy that, or we wouldn't buy that unless it did this, you're not talking to the right people, asking the right questions.
Awesome. Now, I know we're about to break for some food and networking stuff, but just before we do, because you're probably going to hear a few startup ideas, and I know you've spoken about this recently on your podcast, what's the one startup idea you never want to hear again?
Oh, do I have to choose one? Okay. I'll give you something a little bit more broader. I really don't want to hear people starting with, I'm building a platform. And the reason for that is, it's 2025. Find me an industry that has the problem of not enough platforms to choose from. The moment that you take your idea that is a really cool feature and say it's a platform, you have so many people that are your actual buyers that are like, please get away from me. I can't deal with this. Or your champion is going to take it to the next level up, and some stakeholder is going, we have 27 platforms we already don't use. We can't get people to check their freaking email. We're not buying that. And so I want to hear feature. I want to hear we're testing this algorithm, that sort of thing. If you're going to say platform, I want to know that you have absolutely validated that there's space for it in the market you're trying to sell it to.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think a massive round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm assuming this is how they get in contact with you?
Yep. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. The podcast is called The Bootstrap, Startups from Scratch. There's a video version if you like looking at my comically oversized head on YouTube. Oh, sorry. Do I have to say that again?
No.
Oh, good. The end.
Fantastic. One more round of applause for Scotty. Cheers. Thank you so much.
We will be here in 2 weeks.
2 weeks' time. We're talking about finance, fractional finance for smarter startups, so get around it. Toilets are down that way, so follow the Beecham Group banner, and away you go. And we'll have some food and networking while we throw chairs at you.
Yes, and apologies, I will be putting this place back to a co-working space, and then we'll politely kick you out at 9. But thank you very much, and I'll see you again here in 2 weeks.
Or Founder Sundowner tonight. Don't forget. See you there. Bye.